This week, we're starting a new topic in math. We're going to talk about decimals. And in this lesson, you're going to learn an introduction to decimals, approximation or rounding decimals to the nearest hundredth, and multiplying decimals by 10, 100, and 1000 using all we know about place value. First, let's understand what decimals really are. Decimals are partial quantities. So we're used to counting 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Decimals are the quantities that fall between those whole numbers. For example, 1.5 is between 1 and 2. Decimals between 0 and 1 are like proper fractions. Think of the quantity 3/10. We would represent that as a decimal as 0.3 because 3 is in the tenths place in place value. So 3/10, somewhere around here. Decimals greater than 1 are like mixed numbers. Think of the quantity 2 and 3/10. That and is represented by a decimal point, which separates our whole quantity from the partial quantity. So 2 and 3/10 is going to fall between 2 and 3, and we'll represent that as 2.3. The 2 is in the ones place, and the 3 is in the tenths place. Our and from our mixed number is represented by that decimal point, which shows us that we're talking about a partial quantity. So I just want you to understand that decimals are quantities that fall in between, and we can think back to how we imagined fractions to understand decimals. Now we're going to work on approximating or rounding decimals. We will use a number line to round decimals to the nearest hundredth. Rounding to the nearest hundredth means rounding to 2 decimal places. Remember that when we use a number line, we need to think about our outer bounds critically. I'm going to show you how to do that in the next few slides. Our first decimal is 4.728, or 4 and 728 thousandths. This decimal is written in terms of thousands, but we want to write it in terms of hundredths. First, let's remember 4.728 is between 4 and 5. In this approximation, we're going to get even more specific, but it's important for you to realize that 4.728 is closer to 5 than it is to 4. When we approximate, we're just finding out if a number is closer to one or the other. Now you can see in the number line, the book has set up your outer bounds. They've chosen 4.72 and 4.73. Remember that 4.72 is the same value as 4.720. That 0, the hero, just holds the place, and it doesn't really change the value when it comes at the end of a decimal. That also holds true for 4.73. It's the same value as 4.730. Let's look in our thought bubble. 4.728 is more than halfway between 4.72 and 4.73. 4.728 is nearer to 4.73 than 4.72. Okay, so we see how we can round this. I want to give you just one more way to think about this. All right, I don't want you to be scared of decimals. We have done this same type of thinking with whole numbers. I want you to notice that when we rounded 4.728 to the nearest hundredth, we got 4.73, which is the same as 4.730. Notice that the steps we did to round this decimal to 2 places are the same steps we would use when rounding the number 4,728 to the nearest tens place, or 4,730. The big difference is how that 0 has value. At the end of 4,730, the 0 has value because it's still part of a whole number. But when a 0 falls at the end of a decimal, it doesn't have value anymore, so we can just wipe it away. Let's try another example. We're going to round 4.132 to 2 decimal places. So first, we have to set up the outer bounds of our number line. When we do that, we want to focus on the place we are rounding to. In this case, we're rounding to 2 decimal places, or the 3, right here. Notice how my left outer bound, the lower number, is 4.13. I've just copied the same number I'm about to round, but I've taken away the last place. Notice that this number is the same as this one, but I just go up 1 step. So I'm trying to figure out if 4.132 is closer to 4.13 or 4.14. These intermediate dashes in between are separating this number line into 10 places, with 4.135 falling directly in the middle. 4.132 is less than halfway between 4.13 and 4.14. 4.132 is nearer to 4.13 than it is to 4.14. So we round down, okay? 4.132 is about 4.13. Remember that wavy equal sign means is about. We're approximating. So try on your own this one. We're going to round 10.805 to 2 decimal places. Notice how it falls exactly halfway between our 2 outer bounds numbers, which we found by looking at this 0 right here. 10.80, 10.81. That's how we found those outer bounds. Then we split it into 10 places. This one fell right in the middle. And when a number falls right in the middle, we round up instead of rounding down, okay? To round a number 2 decimal places, look at the digit in the thousands place. If it's 5 or greater, we round up. If it's smaller than 5, we round down. This is the same rounding mountain that we've used when we're rounding whole numbers. It's the same process, just a different place value. Round each decimal to 2 decimal places. Remember, less than halfway, round down. Halfway between, round up. More than halfway, round up. Okay, so I want you to take all of these and decide, are they closer to 3.14, 3.1, or 3.15? These are your 2 options. Remember, your 2 options for rounding are always the outer bounds of a number line. Now let's round 6.997 to 2 decimal points. Okay, we're going to fill in the blanks here to fill in your thinking. We already have the number placed on a number line. We see our outer bounds, 6.99 and 7. This one's a little bit tricky because we're doing the places right between where a number changes to a new whole number. When we were counting, 6.997 is between 6 and 9. It's also between 6.9. It's between 6 and 7, sorry. It's also between 6.9 and 7. It's even between 6.99 and 7. So we're looking at a tiny little slice between the numbers 6 and 7. 6.997 is more than halfway between our bounds, 6.99 and 7. 6.997 is nearer to 7 than 6.99. 6.997 is 7 when rounded to 2 decimal places. 6.997 is about 7.00, okay? So in this case, we were rounding, but we didn't just look at the digits. We remembered the meaning of the actual number. We remembered what it was close to, and we realized that sometimes when we're rounding, we have to change many digits in a number. That happens when we're close to getting to a new place value. Now we're going to take a break and come back for another lesson on multiplying decimals.